Imagine a city, a kingdom, that for centuries was a vibrant heart of art, culture, and power. Now imagine it all turning to ash in a matter of days. This isn't a fantasy epic. This is the true, tragic story of the Kingdom of Benin in 1897. So what really happened? The story you might have heard is simple. A British diplomat and his party tried to visit the Oba, the King of Benin. They were warned not to come during a sacred festival. They ignored the warning and were tragically ambushed and killed. In response, Britain sent a punitive expedition to seek justice. But that's not even half the story. The truth is much, much darker. Let's rewind. By the late 19th century, the scramble for Africa was in full swing. European powers were carving up the continent, hungry for resources and territory. The independent Kingdom of Benin, located in modern-day Nigeria, was a major obstacle for Britain's colonial ambitions. Benin was rich in palm oil and rubber, resources the British Empire desperately wanted to control. The Oba of Benin, Oba Ovenramwen, was a savvy leader. He insisted on trading on his own terms and resisted British attempts to take over his kingdom. The British consul, a man named James Phillips, was getting impatient. He saw Benin's independence as a direct challenge. He wrote to his superiors in London, arguing that a military expedition was necessary to depose the Oba and open up the region for British trade. He literally wrote about the value of the ivory he expected to find in the palace, which could pay for the entire invasion. So, the motive wasn't justice. It was profit and conquest, plain and simple. When Phillips and his party marched towards Benin City despite clear warnings, it was seen as an act of aggression. The resulting ambush, while tragic, was the spark that lit the fuse on a bomb Britain had already built. In February 1897, the punitive expedition arrived. It was a force of 1,200 heavily armed British soldiers. What followed was not a battle, it was a massacre. The Benin warriors, fighting with whatever they had, stood no chance against British machine guns. After they conquered the city, the soldiers were ordered to systematically loot it. They stripped the Oba's palace bare. They took thousands of intricate artifacts, ivory carvings, ceremonial heads, and the now world-famous Benin bronzes. These weren't just decorations. They were the kingdom's historical records, a library of their culture and lineage cast in metal. And then, after the looting, they burned the city to the ground. For 3 days, the great city of Benin, a center of civilization for over 600 years, was engulfed in flames. The fire was so intense it was described as a holocaust. The Oba was exiled, and the Kingdom of Benin was absorbed into the British Empire. The stolen treasures were sold off to museums and private collectors across Europe and America to, just as Phillips had predicted, pay for the cost of the expedition. Today, over 125 years later, the fight for the return of these stolen artifacts continues. While some pieces have been returned, the vast majority, including most of the treasures in the British Museum, remain scattered across the globe. This isn't just about art. It's about returning a people's history, their soul, that was stolen in a blaze of colonial greed. The burning of Benin was never about justice. It was about empire, and its ashes still tell a story we all need to hear.